Alrighty, folks. Thank you for coming to the stream. This is our first time having a developer Q&A with Ocarina of Time, a PC port, Ship of Harkinian. We have Leggett in the chat with us. We'll be doing a Q&A for the game while I do a randomizer. I'm on my own, but Aiden is in chat to give me some moral support.
Go team.
And Faye is on chat duty. So, why did you recently decide to port the game? I know you guys been building this for about a year. I don't know if you guys have been working on it for longer than that, though. Like, I know the port for it released about a year ago.
Right, so why now, you mean?
Yeah,
versus...
why now, and why Ocarina of Time specifically?
Well, it mostly just had obviously Ocarina of Time is a well-beloved Zelda game. It's, you know, all the IGN lists put it, whether you consider that fair or not, put it at the top. So it's why Ocarina of Time specifically is because, well, it's so many people's favorite.
Yeah, and it's constantly staying in the public eye.
Yeah, first 3D Zelda game, pioneer of a lot of conventions that people still use today, game developers still use today, all that good stuff. From what I understand, now granted, admittedly I've only been a developer for like a month or two at this point.
Okay.
So I wasn't involved at the very beginning of the project, but from what I have seen from our Discord channel, there's like a breakdown on exactly like the history in the Q&A channel, or not the Q&A, the FAQ channel on the Ship of Harkinian Discord.
I apologize then. I'm still a little new to the whole community, so I am missing a couple of important things.
No worries. It basically just started. Really, you could say a lot of it started right around the same time that the Ocarina of Time decompilation project got to a state where they could compile a ROM and where you could actually read a decent amount of the code and compile it. There was a lot of work before the game went public, or the port went public, about just getting things compiling at all, getting things rendering at all, or getting the game running without graphics, because that was a thing for a while, is that the game was running, just there was no renderer.
Yeah, I've been hearing about the compilation. So I follow a speedrunner by the name of ZFG, and he constantly talks about that. I'm assuming what they're doing is not only helping you guys, but also helping like routing for, say, speedruns and things like that.
Not so much routing as much as discovery of glitches.
Okay.
Which can impact routing, but ZFG would know a little bit more about that part. I'm not much of a speedrunner. But yeah, decomp is what made this possible at all.
Mm-hmm.
So decomp just is the reversing the compiled ROM of the game into, and it's maybe a bit of an oversimplification, but basically they're going from the compiled thing to source code. Not using anything out of the GigaLeak. It's just all completely clean room. All they had was probably a few cartridges of Ocarina of Time that they dumped the ROMs from and ran through some programs that take the little assembly instructions that it got compiled to and reverse that into C code. And then of course they rewrote a lot of that, because when it comes out that way, functions don't have names and variables don't have names and stuff like that. That's what makes this possible at all, is that we have source code to compile.
So you're effectively reverse engineering this game from the ground up.
Decomp did that. We did not specifically do that part. There are some members of the Ship of Harkinian developer team who are also, or at least have also at least contributed to.
That was my next question, actually.
Yeah, there's some overlap, but it's not like explicitly. The projects aren't explicitly linked.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question is, what is expected to release with the next update? I've been hearing things on the grapevine, like Skull Sanity for the randomizer.
Yeah.
But do we have anything? Oh, do we have anything for like the main game itself? Like bug fixes? I'd assume there would probably be bug fixes, but
Oh yeah.
anything substantial?
Let's see. For the next release, probably the biggest, or one of the bigger things that's been already revealed in the progress updates channel on our Discord. You can always look at that, but that's fine. That I'm not like. Anyway, the would be a crash handler, which basically just means that instead of the game just crashing, you get notified that it crashed, and the logs will have a little bit more information for
Okay.
us to work from instead of just knowing the circumstances of the crash. We actually know like what functions were running.
Yeah, that way you can basically you can take the code that somebody's given based on a break, and you can code it so that it doesn't replicate that result in the future.
Yeah. Basically, figure out what.
Actually, I have a bug right now that is a great example. The controller just randomly rumbling and non-stopping.
Oh, okay.
That's a bug that we've been experiencing every now and then when we've been playing the game. Is the game just suddenly randomly starts or the controller just starts rumbling and doesn't stop either unless you interrupt it with another rumble instance, or
Huh.
if you reset the game.
Okay. What controller do you have?
We are using an Xbox controller, the newest design.
Xbox One
One.
or Xbox Series?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will report that when we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I play with a Switch Pro controller. I haven't necessarily experienced that, so that might be specific to a set of controllers, but definitely something we need to look into.
No problem. Yeah. So what are quality? Well, this is part of the last question. Are there any quality of life improvements to the game planned on top of things like boots and tunics on C buttons and just in general? I can't think of any other ideas off the top of my head besides C button items.
That is a big one. So there's it's not so much quality of life, I suppose, in this case. I know that there's there's always more things coming in. A lot of the big ones are already in, like of course the 60 FPS, the C button or the D-pad quips. We've got a few new changes around. What's the word I'm looking for? There's been a lot of the ones I can think of are smaller.
Okay.
Like in certain, I think it's Majora's Mask is when they did it, where you can there's less downtime, I guess, between how quickly you can play notes on the ocarina.
Okay. So there's no input lag, or not input lag, but input spacing.
Yeah. Like there's an enhancement, small enhancement to remove that. I'm trying to think of, because part of my problem as a developer and one involved in Rando a lot specifically is I'm having trouble remembering what's in the dev builds and what's actually already been released.
Yeah,
in
I
Rachel
know
Bravo.
that's why I tried to stay away from randomizer so I could ask these questions correctly, because
Yeah.
once you get into that rabbit hole, it's hard to like ask the questions because you don't know what's in the development build and what's in the actual build at the moment.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of improvements to the menu. Just in general, like it's I think in Rachel Bravo right now it's still kind of compact. There's just been a little bit more spacing, a little bit more categorization, a little bit more, just a little bit more spacious, a little bit more readable.
Okay.
A little bit more organized. Like for example, I think in Rachel Bravo right now, there's just this massive list of enhancements. and we've got things sub-menued a little bit more in the newer builds.
So in the menu or in what you guys see on your end?
In the like the F1 menu, the menu bar.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and that's just quality of, I guess you could call that quality of life. You know, it's the menu looks nicer.
It's more readable, yeah.
Yeah. And we've consolidated a couple things. Like I think there's an enhancements, and then there's like I know there's like a few menus in Rachel Bravo that are one menu but with several sub menus, and I think it makes a little bit more sense. It's a little bit easier to find some of the options.
Yeah, no, I'm all for having nothing but organization and things to be easy to read.
Yeah, and of course, you know, there's obviously always new things that we want to surprise people with. So there's features that I can't announce here. I don't even necessarily know what all of them are.
Not ready yet, then.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, that's always going to be a thing. I'm just trying to think of like what's already in dev builds that people can see, or that have already been announced. The crash handler was the only one that isn't necessarily in dev builds that has been announced, which is just huge for continuing to improve the game when people do find bugs. It's just hopefully we can, if people have crashes, we get to the bottom of them faster.
So basically, you want people to find the actual bugs in the game and not the unintended ones.
Well, yeah. So specifically, what the crash handler is going to help with is when the game crashes, because there's been a couple of pretty frequent bugs around the game crashing that have been difficult to nail down.
Mm-hmm.
The crash handler's going to help with that a lot. There's the bugs that happen like during game time that don't crash the game are usually easier to find in the first place, but the crash handler doesn't really help with those any more than anything else that's already in the game does.
Okay. So is adding something like a key items window a possibility in your the build of Ship of Harkinian? Like, is that a possibility to add, or is that outside the realm of expectations?
Key items window, you mean like the
all the items you obtain that get replaced as you go along the storyline?
Oh, you mean like the trade items?
Yeah, the trade items, yes.
Yes, actually, that is in some of the dev builds. Specifically, I think it's in the randomizer next dev build.
Okay, so it's going to be treated like a mask window then.
Yeah. So it's not so much a window as much as it is when you are on the pause screen and you hover over that spot, you can, I think you have to hit A first, but then you can use the D-pad to switch between them.
Okay.
That might only apply in randomizer, because then you have no reason to ever go back to the for the adult trade items, at least. I think that's only in rando, because you never have a reason to go back.
Of course. I'm thinking because
but
of
the masks, yes.
I did see a mod that somebody was building that allows. I know this is currently in the current build that Bunny Hood gives super speed like Majora's Mask, but yes. I did see somebody was building that each mask had one specific ability to them, and I'd imagine people would want all of the masks available at the same time, and that would be useful.
Yes, yeah, that is a good example for quality of life. That is going to be in the new release, because it's already in the dev builds.
Okay.
And that is switching between the masks once you have completed the mask quest.
Yes.
I think I haven't experimented with it enough, because I do a lot of rando stuff, and that has an option to just have the mask quest completed by default.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it, like, you have to have borrowed the mask before you can just switch to it freely like that.
Of course, that makes sense.
Or at least have it available to borrow. But
yes.
Yeah, that is a thing. That is a thing already in. It's definitely in the rando builds, which will be in a release in the future. a stable release in the future for sure. I don't know exactly what the time frame is going to be on getting that into the main builds, but I think the it should probably it'll end up in the next one.
Okay. So will this project make it easier for people to make things like custom stories and scenarios?
Eventually, yes. Modding, some kind of modding engine has always been the goal. There's been some things that I've worked on personally towards that vaguely, like a custom text, like an engine for getting your own
like a
new,
text editor,
new text
yeah.
in the game. No, not a text editor so much as like the code for adding.
Oh, creating dialogue.
New text to the game, yeah, new text message entries. There's right now you still kind of have to hard code that in if you want to use it to the source code, but the eventual goal is that whatever modding engine we come up with is gonna be able to hook into that.
I'd imagine including custom animations are still very far off, right?
Oh yes, that is there is definitely always progress being made, which I mean the progress updates on our Discord is a great way to see what's happening that we have announced. There's been some custom model progress, as you can see for yourself on that channel later on if you'd like. Yeah, there's always progress being made towards all that. Just it's very complicated. I mean, you got to understand we're dealing with C code that was written in, when did this game come out? 96, 98?
95, I believe.
95. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember getting the game as a present on my birthday when it came out.
In that case, a lot of the code is probably written in like 93.
Yeah. It's been a while.
So, you know, it's an uphill battle, but we have source code, so it's only a matter of time.
Oh.
Oh, nice. Warp songs are always great.
Yeah. So I only have one last written question, but I'm going to let my friends ask any if they have any off the top of their heads while I try and make more. But are we ever getting a log screen for randomizer? Like, we have, oh, right, speaking of log screen, hold on.
You mean the item tracker?
Not the item tracker.
Oh.
Give me a second, let me try and bring up the item tracker. I'm trying to.
Oh, are you referring to like a log of your all of the actions you've taken up to that point?
Yes.
So, like a check tracker, basically, a location tracker.
Yeah, a check. So like locations, maybe a tracker that logs all the hints you've read so far, things like that.
Yeah, that is absolutely planned. There's been some kind of background plumbing work that we've kind of done towards that. There's nothing that you can actually. It's not like an actual list in the dev builds yet, but there is that's definitely a planned feature. It's just one of the larger ones. It's going to take more time.
Okay.
There is and you can experience this on Rando Next builds if you know where to find them, which is on our Discord, of course. There is a notes, personal notes, a little window as part of the tracker now. I believe that it's being worked on to where you can persist those. It wasn't when it first was introduced. It was only like a per session. But there's work being done to persist that. I don't know if that's finished or still being worked on at the moment. But that is absolutely planned. But yeah, location tracker, we definitely want to do that. It's definitely planned. There's just more work to get done.
Absolutely. There is one other thing. Along with the tracker itself. Oh, crud. I had one of those mid-sentence blankouts. Oh gosh.
What about the window, the border?
No. Oh yes, actually, I'm kind of. I did see in some gameplay that you can blank that out. How is that done? Is it possible in this build or not?
It is possible in this build. That's what the so this is a there's already a better version of the tracker in the dev builds.
Of course, yes.
This one that doesn't have the borders on them, this one still does. What this one had, and what you probably saw if they were playing this build, is that they actually didn't capture that. They had the item tracker window outside of the game, and only captured the actual tracker part in OBS, and used a chroma key to filter out the background. That might have been what you were seeing.
Okay, that's probably it then.
If it was this build, there is already in the Rando Next build a version. There's a newer version of the tracker that doesn't have this border, so you can just set a transparent background. And yeah, that's already a feature in the dev build, so it should be in the next major release. There is a
Sorry, I finally remembered my notes should be persisted now. Nice, awesome. I just remembered my last question. So are you expecting to match or exceed the randomizer in terms of accessibility?
Accessibility,
like options, like the stuff that they've released as things that you can change, like sword trails, tunic colors. Like I know we have randomized tunic colors, but it's not per randomized seed. It's currently set to custom choice.
Yeah, because we don't want to lock that specifically to people playing randomizer, where they we want people to playing the vanilla game to be able to randomize or customize their tunic colors if they want as well.
Absolutely.
Now, so so that is something that we want to do. It's another one of those, like, you know, the way that the existing cosmetics editor works is global. So having something persisted to save files is something that we want to do. We're just kind of figuring out the best way to do that without duplicating efforts, because we want to just be able to hook into the existing cosmetics editor, rather than specifically overwriting it for specific save files that are randomized. Just as a specific example, but in general, to answer the original question, yes, we do want to match. Basically, if it's a feature in the 3DS or N64 randomizers,
yes,
we want to have it eventually.
Okay.
Obviously, some of them are going to take a while. Pot sanity.
Oh yeah, no, I don't expect you guys to do pot sanity. That's a little crazy.
The fuck is
I mean,
sanity?
it will.
Anything that drops from a pot can be anything in the game.
It's not even just that. Any freestanding item. So if there's like those rupees that are always there in Kokiri Forest.
Oh my gosh, are you talking about all of like the existing like world items?
Yeah, basically anything that's in the overworld, pots, crates.
Wait, is the 13th heart piece included in that?
13, you mean 37th?
37th, yes, sorry.
The one that's in Gerudo Valley is child only.
Yes.
That is currently so. Technically, I don't think that one is randomized at all in the N64 rando.
Okay.
I don't know if they changed that for Pot Sanity. I doubt it, because that requires glitches or tricks to get to.
Yes, and I know very few people know about it, but it would be really cool to include it. That's all I'm thinking out loud.
I can say that I personally would be interested in letting that optionally be randomized in a no logic
it would
run.
totally educate people that the fact that there is actually with exploitation, there is actually an extra heart piece in the game.
Yeah, I'll say that I personally think that would be cool. I don't know what the consensus is on that. I actually personally just found out about it myself the other day.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes, yeah. Currently, fun fact, if you were to download, it might be in this build, I'm not 100% sure. If you were to go there right now, it technically is randomized. It's just randomized to the same item as the chest on the roof of Gerudo Fortress.
Oh, I got a correction from chat. OOT was originally 98.
Oh, okay, yes.
Uh,
So, point being, like it's old code. That's what I was meaning.
very
Things
old
are
code.
very, yeah, and things are very static. That makes implementing anything for mods difficult, and require a lot of changes to the existing code. So that's kind of what we're slowly working through to eventually get to modding. But that's still going to be a ways off for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, if it's back to the original question, if it's a planned feature, or if it's a feature that exists in N64 and 3DS randomizers, we want to have it eventually.
Okay.
Going beyond that, definitely. Anything that comes to mind, I think there are a few things already. I'm trying to remember exactly what those are. Off the top of my head, I think. Oh yes, so one of the things that's on it's mostly cosmetic stuff right now, but like one of the things on the Rando Next build that you can optionally enable is the name of the currency. Like when you pick up a rupee in the chest,
Yes.
that it won't say rupee. It won't always say rupees. It'll be replaced with other names. So I forget exactly what they all are, and of course we have to come up with ones for English, French, and German.
Rubies, ruples.
Rubies, rubles are there. Dollars, Poké dollars, coins, rings.
Rupors.
What was that one?
Rupors. They're a special
Rupors?
type of rupee in a different game that actually take from your inventory.
It is the negative rupee.
Yes, I do remember that. I just didn't hear it correctly.
Yeah, no problem.
So the that one is not, I think, in the list. Now that I think about it, that would be a fun thing to add to the junk item pool, optional.
Oh, is Rupors? That would be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, that is not something in right now, but that is a good idea. I'll have to see what the other devs think.
Yeah,
about
I
that.
don't know what the actual monetary amount is. Is it like 20 rupees? I believe it takes from your inventory.
I think
it exists in Twilight Princess. That much I know.
There's some in Skyward Sword as well.
Oh,
I
yes.
think in that game.
Yes, you're right.
I think in that game there's actually different types of rupees.
Yeah, it's based on the bomb minigame or the digging minigame.
I think. Yeah, I mean we would figure that out. We'd probably want to add different amounts.
I just got Rupors is a good one.
Yeah. So I had another dev just correct or remind me. The warp songs have, and a couple other items have some particle effects that help you to distinguish them in the overworld. Like for example, the Deku sticks. If you find a Deku stick upgrade in the
Okay, so
overworld,
instead of it just being the static item for both, like both getting the item and the upgrade's going to have like sparklies on it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they're color coded too. I think they're green for the rupees. Or not green for the sticks and yellow for the Deku nuts, and the warp songs just match what color they are. And I just had another addition. There's some glitches that are specific to that are different. Like for example,
the devs are adding things as we're talking.
Yeah.
they
So
just threw something in for Rupors.
Yeah. The hook shot, for example, will crash the game on N64 if you were to like equip swap that onto Child Link.
Okay.
Works just fine in this.
Do sticks still like half erase Adult Link's body, or is that been fixed?
I don't know actually. I think they just.
Because I remember if you were able to equip swap sticks onto Adult Link in the default game, half of his upper torso would just disappear.
I don't think we have that problem. I think the stick might just be invisible.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't know that I have. Someone did someone did just tell me that adult stick is fine.
Okay.
And you can see the stick. Okay, so I was incorrect on that. I think I might have been remembering. Probably from watching ZFG, he equip swapped sticks.
Yeah.
I think the N64 rando made it so that they fixed adult Link's upper half
Oh
disappearing.
yes.
The stick was invisible.
There was many things that the randomizer has already fixed that I'm actually pretty glad they did.
Yeah.
Great example is hovering over specific items, like the holes where the medallions and the stones are will tell you if you've gotten any hints on it.
Oh yeah, okay. That's a neat idea. I think the main problem with
Adding things to menu is it's a little complicated.
Yes, yeah, it is definitely complicated. That's definitely something like there's a few things we toyed around with, like that there was at one point. 'Cause I'm trying to remember. Like I know there's been attempts to add like something to the pause screen,
Okay.
like a menu with like what keys you've collected at some point. Obviously, the tracker will have that.
Absolutely.
So another new feature that's going to be in the next major release that I was just reminded about is we have like enhancement presets now.
Okay.
That's one of the big things in the menu rehaul.
What does that mean?
So you know how there's like a whole bunch of enhancements in the game for skipping text and increasing your climbing speed.
Oh
and
yes,
stuff
absolutely.
Like that.
Faye loves setting the climbing speed to maximum settings and just going nuts on walls.
Yeah, so we have basically at the top of the enhancements menu is going to be just a drop down with several options that will toggle on sets of options for you.
Okay.
And that's right now they're just kind of a few presets. There's one for randomizer that enables a few randomizer specific enhancements in addition to all the usual ones you'd expect, like the climbing speed and the tech speed and all that good stuff. The Majora's Mask bunny hood. Speaking of the bunny hood, that's eventually going to be planned because ours is a little bit different from N64 randos, where N64 randos, it kind of nerfs the jumping speed that you think you'd have back to just what regular Link can do.
In the randomizer or
in the N64 randomizer, I believe it does.
Oh, okay, so no momentum is carried over from the bunny hood.
Yeah, ours it is, and there's nothing in our logic unless it was added recently, and I'm not aware of it. In the randomizer logic that requires those jumps, but there are some jumps in ours that you can make that would allow you that normally you would need other items for.
Okay.
Which can be useful in no logic runs, which is not an option on this build, but it will be it is in the developer builds for randomizer right now.
Speaking of logic, I recently had a seed the other day where one of the what I could tell was one of the logic was skipping Mido as adult. Is that inside the logic?
No.
I must have missed something then.
It should not be. Yeah, it happens all the time. You know, I've had to ask for help myself on randomizer seeds before.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to get stuck. We do have a randomizer playtesting channel.
Yes.
If you think you found a bug, feel free. You can report it there, or you can ask for help with a.
Honestly,
with a
we're
seed.
not sure because we thought we got stuck on trying to get magic to progress.
The big thing that happened was we both. I guess the big question I could have is: would there ever be a seed where it requires you to play the treasure game without the lens of truth?
No, there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Not with the current settings available anyway. I think
That's what initially we thought, but then we remembered there was one check we didn't do, and it turns out that was the one check we needed to do it.
that's pretty often how it happens.
Yeah.
There are definitely some things that are in logic that you wouldn't necessarily think about. One that I ran into on one of the dev builds, because those have Skull Sanity on it, is the Skulltula outside of Ganon's castle. Had an item that I needed to progress, and I didn't know that it was in logic to get without the hookshot. You can actually, it is in logic for you to jump to it or fall from the archway above that it's resting on.
Speaking of logic,
which would cause you to void out. Go ahead.
Sorry, speaking of logic, I just realized, because I've been doing this a couple of times now, I assume that you could catch any size fish, but I've been getting the same result every time I gave him a smaller fish. You have to catch the biggest fish like normal then.
Yes. That is in the one of the things in the next build is options to make this easier.
Okay, so I was assuming that the 1 rupee was just what I was getting, but I was wrong. So that was probably one of the checks we were missing last time too.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. Alright, so yeah, we got that wrong.
That's okay.
I assumed that was just a thing, because I don't recall us getting any reward for handing in a fish of undersized before.
I guess in exploring all of the glitchy ways you could get through things, I guess you just thought that, oh, maybe this is part of the logic. Maybe this is part of this stuff. But
yeah, because we didn't know if I mean, I knew single rupees were in the pool, but I didn't know if that counted or not.
I think there's only one.
Yeah, there's exactly one green rupee in the pool.
Oh, that should have clued me in, because I had it done twice.
I think there are some settings, I don't think any that we have implemented yet, but in the other versions of the randomizer, there are some settings that do end up adding more green rupees. But most in most rule sets, there's only one green rupee in the pool.
Okay.
So another cool feature I forgot about, because I haven't really messed with it personally, is do you know about Beta Quest?
I know about Beta Quest. I've seen bits and pieces of it, yes. Where everything is like way larger than it should be in dungeons.
I wasn't sure about that one specifically. I know there's it's basically in the original game there's a set of Game Shark codes you can use to essentially access bits and pieces of the game that didn't make it into the final cut anywhere, including some areas that you don't see and a couple of assets that you don't normally see, like the square ocarina pedestal. That is available or accessible in the next major release of The Shape of Harkinian. There's like an option in the menu to enable different versions of Beta Quest.
Okay.
Which is just a fun thing for people to explore. They're not beatable. Their entrances can be not lead where you expect. It's not like it's essentially unfinished, accessing unfinished content in Ocarina of Time, essentially at its basic level.
It's like a museum, basically.
Yeah, kind of. It just lets you see some cool stuff that you just don't normally get to see.
Going on entrances, is entrance randomizer in the cards in the near future?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, any feature that the other randos have, we do want eventually. There has been work done on it. There are builds you can get that have entrance randomizer in them. They are still kind of buggy. Entrance is not getting randomized properly, stuff like that. I don't know exactly where it's at the moment, but it's probably not going to be in the next release. But there's work being done on it. It's definitely planned. You can see the particles right there in
Yeah,
the
I see that.
on that song.
Are you not gonna get the song, dude?
I don't have. Oh wait, no,
Yes,
I do
you
have
do.
a scale.
You do have the
Yes,
silver scale.
I am so sorry. I completely forgot. I grabbed that earlier. Thank you.
I think I was about to say it and got distracted, but options to make the fishing easier are in the next build as well.
My gosh, my luck with getting Requiem all the time early.
Yeah, Requiem is interesting. It's an interesting one to get because it's there's just it's often I often get it before I can get there normally. So it's just kind of an interesting sequence of events for me.
Right. Clarify from
Anyway, what's the next question?
I'm gonna let it up to Aiden or Faye if they have any.
Would you be? I guess in the one thing I've been curious about, I'm not sure if this was going to be brought up at all later, but will there be mods put in later to make Link look like various other characters?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like Wind Waker, the Wind Waker randomizer.
Yeah, or some way to like change his physical appearance. Like, could we play as like? Just off the top of my head, a young Zora Link.
Yeah, like
Zora.
injecting custom models onto Link's model itself.
Oh, that's a big eventually, but yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I saw some talk about it in the chat where you guys had just discovered how to modify models.
Yeah, I know that there was something that I think Melon Speedruns is the Discord handle. One of the one of the longer standing higher up developers posted something in the progress updates about that a while back. Yeah, there's what I think what might have been in the chat recently discovered is changing the colors for certain models.
Okay.
So that's something that's in the rando next builds when you have key sanity enabled.
Yeah, I saw that. I was sitting in on a developer build of one of them, and the key sanity was in effect, and the keys were colored.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's an option that you can enable. It's not on
That's
by
super
default.
helpful.
Yes. It's really cool. Have you seen Ganon's boss key?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it looks really cool. You have to. I don't want to spoil it for you, but
Okay.
it looks really cool. That's you can thank a developer by the handle of A Manus for that.
Okay.
He I coded in the actually showing, like calling that the custom drawing function for that into the where that changes the color into the game, but he well, I shouldn't say I didn't really code the function as much as I coded how we get to that function specifically. Long story. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, he was the one who came up with the colors.
Okay.
And got them looking good in the game because any random hex code or RGB value you find online isn't necessarily gonna.
Yeah, because you have to overlay it on top of the color, and the existing color may prove to be a pain in the butt. Thankfully, keys are silver, so shouldn't be too hard.
The keys aren't too bad. The gem in the boss keys is what normally gets colored.
Ooh, yeah.
According to the dungeon, that one I think was already colorless in the main game and is colored in by the vanilla game's drawing functions. So that one wasn't too hard, I think, to make look good. But yeah, some of the keys that might look a little bit when you're trying to mess with the colors, they might look a little bit darker than you would expect based on the color code.
Yeah, like trying to add blue to the red gem, it'll look like muddy brown or something like that.
Well, like I said, I think the gem is already.
I was just using that as an example.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Trying to mix colors isn't always the best.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The maps and compasses are not colored yet. I think I don't know if we just haven't hadn't tried it or hadn't, or if we've tried it and it didn't look good. I can't remember. But,
Well, here's a thought. What if you gave it a ring on the top leading edge, like on the face of the compass, instead of coloring the whole thing? Is that a possibility?
Not as it is right now.
Okay,
We kind of have to, because like that whole area is, yeah, that whole, we could, yeah, that I'm just not too sure about.
What about just adding colored particle effects?
That probably would be what we end up doing
Mhm.
for when they're freestanding in the overworld, and then of course when when you pick up the item, it says in the text box what
Absolutely,
it's
yes.
from. But also like they don't, you know, when you're playing randomizer, getting the maps and compasses is they're practically junk items
Yes.
for a lot of people. The compasses can be kind of helpful, but I guess they just weren't the highest priority. I guess apparently there was some work in progress done, but it just wasn't really able to get it to look super good yet. So we're, you know, eventually that'll happen.
Speaking of maps and compasses, is there implementation currently in the works for taking a look at maps outside of the one you're currently standing in? Just to check for like completion, like say you wanna double check whether you've completed like the fire temple or not, but you don't want to go all the way there to make sure that has happened. You could just like flick through your maps on the map screen, so to speak.
Right. Not that I know of. I think I saw someone talking about wanting to do that, but I don't know that it actually got. Well, that's important.
It's a bit. It's a little important.
I don't think anybody's actually coded it yet. I'm sure it's something that we would want to do eventually. But also, if the check tracker is eventually planned as well, and that also kind of fills that role if you're doing randomizer specifically.
That's true. Yeah, it'll tell us. Yeah.
So it's basically just a matter of which one gets done first. Although I do like the idea of being able to change what map you're looking at, just because for vanilla too, like that was something you would want to do. I don't think the item tracker.
Yeah, that would definitely be a really nice quality of life improvement for even the default game.
Yeah. I think it's probably something somebody wants to do. I think it's just one of those too many bugs, not enough time.
One of the devs in chat has said it's in their radar, but it is very complicated to do.
Yes, I also was going to say pretty much anything involving editing the pause menu is. I haven't tried it myself, but I've heard complaints from other devs about it being kind of finicky at best. So I'm sure eventually there'll be some abstractions added around that, and it'll, you know, as time goes on, it'll only get easier. But that's just something we have to wait on and keep working at, I guess. There's also like how in the UI, as far as the user experience, do we handle it, especially because when Link's on the overworld, the map screen, the map section of the pause screen looks completely different.
Okay.
And a lot of the buttons are taken already with other functions.
Ah, okay.
So that's also been a bit of a problem. But yeah, it's sure. Yeah, I'd like to see it. That sounds cool.
Related to that's actually related to a question I was just about to ask. Is are you able to set like custom variables to the game, like new status that the game doesn't have? Like, I don't know, a coldness level or something. Just throwing that out there as an example.
Well, I mean, the answer to most of those questions is we have the source code. So is it possible? Yeah, probably.
Is it possible now?
Difficult?
Probably not.
Yeah, it would take some work for sure. Also, as far as actually getting that into the game, that's something we want to save for mods.
Yeah, after you've completely solidified what you have now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we would want mods to be able to do. The most of what we, besides some of there obviously are a few exceptions, like randomizer, for instance, but most of what we want to add to the full like base game that gets shipped out from us is the vanilla game with quality of life improvements.
Absolutely, yeah.
And yeah, like the 60 FPS and getting it stable and no crashes and all that. I mean, technically anyone can mod the game. It is the source code is publicly available, so you can. What's the word I'm looking for? You can
Fork it?
Yeah, you can fork and supply a patch file. The problem is then that anyone who wants to play your mod has to build the game from source and know a little bit about how to use source control or version control systems.
Oh, that's actually a good question from what you're telling me. So anybody can modify it, but when you say anybody can modify it, does that mean like anybody can go in and change the code and just like, I don't know, ruin things, or is it like
No,
put on like a public domain where everybody can grab the files, but they can't modify the originals, so to speak?
So this is true of not just Ship of Harkinian, but all of open source software. It is, yeah, for anyone can build it for security reasons. We don't let everyone upload their own build. We don't. There's pretty much all open source software. You can pull it down, pull the source code down, edit it, build it on your own, however you want. You could even put your changed code somewhere online if you wanted to. But as far as actually getting things into what we ship out to people, there's a process for that, and it's built into GitHub, which is what we use to host the source code. It's called a pull request. So it's essentially a request that someone else can make a request for us to pull their code into the main code base.
Okay.
That's how I got started. I submitted one to fix the bug with the grave digging tour, which exists in the vanilla game, the original game. That is
Wait, there was a bug in the grave digging tour? That's news to me. I didn't know this.
Oh yeah. A fun fact, actually, the 3DS version attempted to fix it but broke it in the opposite direction.
Oh no.
So with the grave digging tour with Dompe, if you spawn the heart piece,
Oh
like
right,
do the
yeah,
grave
and you
digging
leave,
tour,
you can actually erase it. That's right, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
you can permanently miss it. The 3DS version actually broke it the opposite way.
So now
and
it
that
stays permanently in.
you can just infinitely get it.
Yeah.
That's actually what there's a speedrunning community that does that on Valentine's Day. Is they see who can get to max hearts the fastest from just the grave digging tour.
Oh,
That's
geez.
hilarious.
Yeah. I think CFG's done it a few times actually.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
I could be wrong. I think I know I've heard him talk about it. But anyway, yeah. So anyone can pull the code, edit it on their own, build it on their own, do whatever they want with it. But as far as actually making it into our code base, it would have to be approved by us first.
Oh, that's great. That was my next question. I'm like, is your intention to try and keep things as true to the original source material as possible, and are you taking steps to make sure it stays that way?
Yeah. Original source material, I guess.
Like the intended
experience.
Experience, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That's definitely the main goal. There's ultimately, eventually, whatever code changes need to happen to make mods work will happen. But that's an eventually thing. And of course, when you're not using a mod, as far as anyone playing the game will be able to tell, it should still be just like the original game.
Well, I think I've about exhausted all of my questions. Faye, do you have any last-minute questions?
The only things I really have are like, beginner friendly, like for those that have never played this game or haven't played in a while that they forgot things. Like, is there anything that would become or even thought about for them specifically, like just the like what I think Terp said earlier, like the track or for what's been flagged as completed, like flags for grottos, etc.
So you're talking like specifically for randomizer, or
Yeah, randomizer, main game, because like I haven't played any of Ocarina of Time in forever, and only recently did I play randomized, or with zero remembrance of what I'm supposed to be doing.
That brings me an idea that you guys might be able to work on. Has anybody played Fire Red Leaf Green on the team?
I can't speak for everybody. I know I've played for
Alright,
every Pokemon game except the most recent one at some point.
Okay, so you know how the game tells you what you've done in the past week? Or something
Yes,
like that?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
What if you guys try to implement something like that?
Yeah, I'd have to. It would take a lot of thought about how to do that. But for randomizer, it would be pretty simple once all the location tracker type features are available.
It's just something like maybe we could implement that for reintroducing somebody who's like stepped away from a tracker because they couldn't do it all in one sitting, and just refreshing their memory real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely sympathize with that. Sure. Yeah, I mean that sounds interesting. I'm trying to think about how we would do that, but I'm sure there's a way.
Well, like the last items picked up, or the last NPC talked to, or things like that.
Sure. Yeah. To answer Faye's question, about so for randomizers specifically, at least there is already a feature in the dev builds for we have a feature that you can optionally enable where the Navi hints that show up from time to time, like the random ones, actually can be swapped out for randomizer specific hints.
Okay, so like pause menu hints from like other games.
Something like that, yeah. So
pause menu advice is what I meant. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So like for example, there's one where you can hit the Navi button and she'll mention the 3 Deku Scrubs that sell random items, that there are 3 of them. A common thing people miss and come to the playtesting channel for is thinking that they found a bug because they can't progress in the Fire Temple, only to realize that they have like hover boots and the hammer and can beat the boss.
Yeah.
And the boss has the last key that they need.
I mean, technically speaking, you don't even need the hover boots. I'm not sure how many people actually know this, but it's actually possible to get there with just the hammer. As long as you, technically speaking, rub Link against the wall while you're jumping, you can actually make the jump to the ledge on the side.
I think I know what you mean. I think you do also have to have the Goron tunic in order to not, because like the hit stun from the lava would be too frequent.
No, you don't even have to touch the lava. It's actually possible to make it with a rolling jump. Something about the coding when it comes to Link pressing his model against the wall extends his jump.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that one's considered in logic, as in expected to be required.
Oh no, I wouldn't expect anybody to do that. I'm just thinking that out loud.
Using hover boots definitely is potentially required to reach the boss to get the last key to finish the fire temple. I think the water temple as well has situations like that.
Oh.
Yeah, because you can reach if you get the boss key early and have the long shot, you can just go beat more.
Oh yeah, of course, yes.
I think we've had a situation like that before.
We did. Faye actually had it in his randomizer just the other day. He was stuck in the water temple and he literally couldn't do anything else. And I told him, hey, go to the boss. It's probably part of logic. You have the long shot.
Yes. Yep.
And then I got tossed by him for some odd reason. And it froze Link internally into the cutscene of, hey, you've been thrown.
Yeah, he just like yoed him in the middle of the air, and the character model just stayed stuck frozen in midair.
How long ago was this?
2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Oh, I thought I remembered that being a bug that was fixed. Maybe
Well,
that's
it was
maybe
under
it's
the
still
Rachel
in the-
Bravo build. I don't know.
Maybe it's still in there. I don't remember.
It could have been something that I did because I think I had the floating bit on. I think
Yeah, Faye likes to use mods a bit, like L for moon jump.
Oh yeah, that could definitely.
I have the patience of
A toddler, maybe.
no, I have the patience of a hyper dog.
Okay.
I was about to say, I think toddler might be a little bit mean. I would say like maybe like a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, that's a major one that's already in as far as like accessibility and helping beginners.
Okay.
That's one that's already in is those Navi hints, just for reminders of some tricky logic situations that you might not think of if you haven't played a bunch of randomizers before. The check tracker obviously will be a huge thing once that's finally an option. Once that's finally something we can do. As far as things like that in the vanilla game, we haven't added anything that wasn't already there, obviously. I guess the game does a pretty good job already of teaching you how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Things like the Know-It-All Brothers house teach you a lot about how the interface works. You might not want to do that while you have ISG, unless you're... Oh, I guess you're trying to do the
I'm trying to do well early, yes.
Yeah, okay, never mind. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, but yes, the like sort of journal entry, I guess, is the best way I can describe what you were talking about for vanilla saves. That's an interesting idea. I do like it. I'm not sure how easy
No, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit difficult because you probably have to write a lot of extra code just to keep track of the last things that were done. But it would be definitely a step in the right direction for usability and like new player support kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll definitely bring that up when we're talking about new features for sure. That might be, yeah, I don't know. We'll definitely consider that. Kenix asked me a moment ago, after I was talking about the pull requests, how like pull requests work, to go into a little bit more detail on that, if you guys don't mind.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Just in case anybody wants to get involved, they know how to. So, the way you would start, of course, you need to be familiar with, it's a version control system. It's called Git. You need to be familiar with that. You'll need to have a GitHub account. So once you're familiar with all that, you would clone the repository for the ship of Harkinian. It's you can find it on GitHub. It's the Harbor Masters / Shipwright is the organization / repo name. So you would pull down the code. Not always the best at explaining this, so do forgive me. And if anybody in the chat
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine.
has
Go
a
ahead.
question, feel free to let me know. But you would pull or clone the code base to your computer. and you would obviously then just do whatever you needed to make sure you can build it, and as it is, preferably just to make sure that, you know, if you're having trouble building it, it's not something that you added that isn't building right.
Or something you didn't download correctly or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Just get it building, then you can start editing the code.
So is copying it from GitHub similar to, like, say, copying like a spreadsheet or something from somebody else's Google Docs?
Sort of.
A little bit more complicated than that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So Git is a version control system.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it lets you look at code history and all that good stuff. And so you would use that to clone the code base, so that you would get all of the commit history, all of the what's the word I'm looking for? You would use that. There is like a download zip option, but it's a lot easier if you just use Git to clone.
And it probably keeps a list of all the forks and updates that developers make as they go along.
Yeah. That's another thing. Yeah, it's a lot easier to pull down new updates that come out while you're working on your feature, mod, enhancement, whatever. You will. It's a lot easier because you can just pull that down, and Git will merge it all in automatically. So anyway, once you have the code base, you have your development environment set up, and there's instructions on GitHub on our GitHub repo on how to do that. It's in the file called building.md. There's instructions there. So once you have all that, you figure out what you want to change. You make the change, add whatever feature it is, fix whatever bug you found. Then eventually you'll want to. Actually, let me back up. Probably what you want to do first, as your very first step before cloning, is actually on GitHub. You can hit the fork button on our repository. That will clone it to. It will basically clone a copy of the repository to your GitHub account, and then you actually want to pull that because you'll need that in place to do a pull request on GitHub later. So it's one of the things that you just kind of have to get familiar with. All open source software follows a similar process to this. So you would fork, clone, do whatever you want to do to change the code, build. Then once you have your code all changed and committed, which is a Git term where that's essentially how you solidify your changes to your branch of the code.
Yeah, you confirm it, and you basically tell GitHub, hey, this is my finalized version of whatever I'm changing it to. Now you can post it and make it public, kind of thing.
Sort of, yeah. The commits aren't GitHub, so Git and GitHub are not the same thing.
Oh, right, sorry.
They work together, but
yes.
But Git is one thing. GitHub is just the most popular hosting service for Git repositories.
Yes.
You can there's other services like GitLab, Bitbucket.
Honestly, I've only ever really heard of GitHub.
Yeah, we're on GitHub. GitHub is by far the most popular.
Mm-hmm.
So the commits are something you do locally on your end, and you actually don't necessarily want to commit. It depends on how big your change to the code is,
yes.
But you don't necessarily want to commit to do all of that in one commit. You probably want to get a certain piece of it working and then commit that, and kind of to have it in multiple commits. Now, if the one thing you want to do, one bug you want to fix is like one line long, then yeah, you'll probably just have one commit. But and how often you commit and what you would consider like a unit of change that you want to commit is generally up to the individual developer's discretion. But anyway, that gets into more opinionated stuff. So once you have all that committed, you push that to your forked version of the repository, and then from there, on GitHub, you can open what's called a pull request. You would go to your, basically what that does is opens a request for us to pull your code into the main repo. That allows for several things to happen at that point. We have a continuous integration system that will build your code, which can let us test it without having to build it ourselves, or it basically just verifies that your code builds before we pull it in. There's also a code review process that we go through where we have to have at least 2 developers with write access to the repository need to approve your changes.
It's a 2-key confirmation system.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And then if all goes well, eventually it'll get merged. More than likely, I don't think unless there were very simple changes, even as a developer myself, I don't know that I've ever had code that was accepted on the first pass. I've generally gotten comments that of things that they wanted me to change.
Of course not. Yeah, they always
yeah.
expect improvements, and it's like once you're comfortable with something that you've made, that's when you start stagnating. You always want to improve.
Yeah, no, 100%. But that's just sort of like to set expectations. Like we want, there's a certain standard that the code that we pull into the repo should have. Not to dissuade anyone from giving it a shot, obviously, of course. Again, like I hadn't worked in C in a long time before I first made my first commit, and of course I went through a few iterations and review. But yeah, so what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, so it goes through a review process. There has to be specifically two developers with write access. Not every developer on the team has write access. I don't, for example. I'll review code just so that my opinion is there, and if there's anything that I notice that can be changed, it can go ahead and be changed, but my review doesn't count as one of the two.
Yeah, I'd imagine the write access is probably a seniority thing.
Maybe. Seniority, experience, background.
Yeah.
But, that's not up to me.
Of course.
I don't know what all the criteria are for that. But anyway, yes. It has to go through a review process, and then eventually it will, if it's good, eventually it will get merged. It might be a while. You might need to change it several times, but eventually it'll get merged.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a couple other things that eventually need to be considered. Like, for example, we usually have two or three development branches going on at any given time. For example, there's a develop Rachel branch, which is what the next bug fix release is eventually going to be. Develop Zora branch, which is what the next major release is eventually going to be.
Actually, that's a question I have. What defines your naming convention for these builds?
There is actually, I know it's based off of characters in a sci-fi series of some variety.
Okay.
I actually do not know which series it is. I imagine someone will chime in with that soon. But yeah, it's they're characters from some
Blade
kind
Runner.
of. Oh yes, that's.
Oh, Blade Runner, of course.
It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah.
Of course.
Yes, characters from Blade Runner.
Yeah, so it's a character plus a Grecian alphabet thing.
Yeah.
Rachel Bravo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so Kenix just corrected me. It is. It's been Blade Runner up to this point.
Okay.
But after the next release, it will be a different major sci-fi thing. I don't know what, but a different major sci-fi property will be the basis for the naming scheme after the next release.
Fair enough.
Oh, never mind. Tron is next.
Hey! Awesome. I'm excited. Love Tron.
Yeah. Hopefully I was supposed to reveal that, but anyway. So
I
the
don't think it's going to affect much if you reveal
Yeah.
what your naming convention is.
Yeah, probably not. It would be pretty obvious probably if you look on GitHub, because you can see the branch names.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't call it like develop bug fix, develop feature. We call it develop Rachel and develop Zora. So whatever the next one is, it might be documented somewhere. Apparently there is documentation for this publicly somewhere already.
I'm just imagining MCP Alpha.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't encourage them.
Oh, I can go to Zora's domain with this, right? Okay.
But yes, so that's the basic process. Things you want to keep in mind while you're developing whatever it is you're developing is just watch for, like, if you see a specific naming scheme that already exists in the code, try to follow that to the best of your ability. If you're adding like a big new feature, big new enhancement, you want that to be something you can toggle on or off. Basically anything that would deviate from the authentic Ocarina of Time experience should be toggleable. If it's not, then we will ask you to make it toggleable.
And of course, any changes you want to try and be as lore friendly as possible, yeah? Like quality of life changes, I mean.
Lore friendly, I mean, I don't know that that's as big of a concern, but I mean, yeah, definitely if you can, that would be. I'm not sure exactly, like, as far as quality of life goes, what would and wouldn't be lore friendly.
Yeah, I don't mind me. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think if there is anything.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. We are also kind of getting more picky about enhancements lately, because we have so many already.
Absolutely.
There have been a few that have tried to come out that we have rejected and pushed to, they're free to submit those as patch files for people who want to build that themselves, but
Am I allowed to ask what they are?
I don't actually know exactly what all of them are. I think there's but you can see, and that's also something that you can see on GitHub. You can see all the pull requests that are open, merged, and closed. So if it was closed, that's probably one that was rejected, or I think some of them might be hanging open and have a comment that says this fits better as a mod. So that's definitely hold on to that. I'm sorry if you guys could hear that.
It's fine.
Yeah, so definitely keep your code around if it gets rejected, because eventually eventually that could still be a great mod.
Yeah. It might not be useful for right away, but it might be considered down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's the general process. Everything else I can think of involving that can kind of be a case-by-case basis sometimes. Yeah, just so if anybody wants to get involved, that's how you can do it. That's the basic process anyway, as simple as I can make it sound, at least.
Yeah, so I believe that's basically it. You've got all the information you've dropped for us. We got all the questions out of the way, and we've still got a stream to go. If there's anything else you'd like to say, please let us know.
I think Faye said he had another question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is kind of a big ask, but
Okay.
I think, well, it's not. It's basically Majora's Mask. Is there like any thought of like technically trying to add more of it to this other than like the masks doing something? Or like, do you think that would be like a big strain at this current moment?
That would definitely be something more along the lines of mods rather than in the
that's
base.
that's
So,
kind of,
Chip of Harkinian.
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to ask it.
Yeah, that would definitely be more along the lines of a mod than something that gets into the baseline. I imagine that most, like, it would definitely be welcomed as a mod. Like, I'm sure it would be appreciated as a mod for people who want to play it. Like, I depending on what it is, like that sounds like something I'd want to play with. But yeah, that definitely more of a modding thing.
And imagine rolling around as a Goron in Hyrule Field.
Yeah, that's definitely a mod. Be a fantastic mod, but that's
It
definitely
would
a
be,
mod.
yeah. Add some ramps in there. Oh my god. Is that it? Yes? No? Maybe so?
Yeah, that was it.
Alright. Well, thank you for coming on our stream. I don't think we've ever had this many viewers at the same time on our channel. We're a very small community of people working together to raise money for children's charities. Specifically for CHIO, our local hospital, Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. And we work through Extra Life. So if you guys have any interest in donating or sharing the link with anybody else, please feel free to do so. I've been Terp, and Leggett has been our guest speaker for on behalf of the Ship of Harkinian crew. Thank you for visiting and having your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Glad happy.
Oh, we have a
That's what I'm
question in
looking
chat for the dev, actually.
Okay.
When are we getting Ganon as a romance option?
Dang it, why didn't I think of that?
That is definitely a mod.
I didn't
No,
read the
we
whole
have to. We'll have to wait until Breath of the Wild 2 before we can get rehydrated Ganon.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Rehydrated Ganon, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, not those memes again.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate any other last minute questions.
Any serious questions from chat that aren't mod-related jokes? Or anything that any mods in chat would like to throw in that they feel wasn't mentioned or something.
No, I got nothing.
Okay. Well, like I said, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. Good luck on the randomizer.
Thank you.
And yeah, anybody, if feel free to well, yeah, never mind. Yeah, you guys
I'll always be in the community. I have lots of fun providing high def texture packs and stuff, and I'm still trying to get that permission to release the HD community texture pack to the greater public.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you guys for having me. Good luck with the rando, and yeah, feel free to reach out anytime.
Yep. Thanks again for speaking for coming to speak.
Anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Take care, bud.
Bye.
You too. Y'all too. Bye.